Welcome to today's Explainer. Get ready because we are setting the stage for a truly cinematic dive into literally the most massive and the most rapid wealth creation in all of human history. We're going to track the rise of an empire that has radically reshaped our entire world. We're talking everything from digital payments in the early days all the way out to outer space. We are, of course, talking about Elon Musk. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this empire, we have to start right here. $1.11 trillion. By the summer of 2026, Elon Musk didn't just break financial records, he completely shattered the ceiling of modern finance to become the world's very first trillionaire. Honestly, it's a number so outrageously large, the human brain kind of struggles to even process it. So, to put that insane momentum into perspective, $29,100. That was his average earnings per second in the first half of 2026 alone. Let that sink in. Every single time the second hand ticks on your watch, a new median salary is just generated.
Which leads us directly to the driving question of this whole explainer. How exactly does one single person build a fortune that's larger than the gross domestic product of several entire nations combined? Well, to understand this trillion-dollar peak, we actually have to hit rewind. We've got to go all the way back to a very chaotic and incredibly messy beginning. So, let's dive in. First things first, we absolutely have to debunk a massive myth right out of the gate. The popular story goes that Elon Musk simply sat down in a dark room and coded PayPal all by himself, practically overnight. Well, that clean, simple narrative of the solo genius, it is completely false. The reality of real empire building is so much more complex and, frankly, a lot more interesting.
The actual reality looks a lot more like this. Back in 1999, Musk founded an online banking startup called X.com, but entirely separately from him, Peter Thiel and Max Levchin had founded a company called Confinity. And Confinity was the team that actually built the original digital money transfer product that we now know as PayPal. In early 2000, these two rival companies were basically forced to merge just to survive the hyper-competitive madness of the dot-com boom.
And let me tell you, that merger was anything but smooth. As Confinity co-founder Max Levchin later described it, the 50-50 merger between X.com and Confinity created chaos and tension. They fought over strategy, they clashed over product direction, and Musk fiercely fought to keep the combined company named X.com. This early fortune wasn't built on some tidy, flawless master plan. It was forged in the messy, high-friction crucible of clashing egos.
But, this friction eventually paid off. Musk's first real taste of major success was actually selling his earlier company Zip2 back in 1999. He walked away with $22 million and promptly bought himself a $1 million McLaren, as you do. But the true catalyst was that chaotic merger we just talked about. The combined company officially adopted the PayPal name and ultimately secured a monumental $1.5 billion acquisition by eBay in 2002.
From that eBay deal alone, Musk walked away with a personal payout of roughly $180 million after taxes. Now, for 99.9% of people, this is the end of the story, right? You take your $180 million, you buy a private island somewhere sunny, and you safely retire at age 31. But, as you probably guessed, Musk didn't do that.
Instead, he made what we can really only call the ultimate gamble. He poured $100 million straight into SpaceX, another $70 million into Tesla, and $10 million into SolarCity. He literally took every single liquid dollar of his massive fortune and dumped it into completely unproven, highly volatile industries. He had zero cash left. To the point where he was borrowing money from his friends just to pay his rent.
Now, this kind of extreme risk tolerance led directly to the very dark year of 2008. This was absolutely his all-is-lost moment. The global financial crisis was actively crushing the world economy. Tesla was burning through cash and was literally weeks away from total bankruptcy. And simultaneously, SpaceX had just suffered 3 consecutive devastating rocket explosions. The money was just gone.
He was facing an agonizing, almost impossible choice with his last remaining funds. In his own words, he said, "If I split the money, maybe both of them would die. I debated that over and over. Any logical financial advisor would tell you to save the stronger company and just let the other one fail. But Musk viewed both of these companies as his children. He decided to risk absolutely everything to try and save them both."
And it came down to the absolute wire. Seriously. In September 2008, the 4th SpaceX Falcon 1 launch finally succeeded. And if that had failed, SpaceX was dead, no question. But that success secured a massive $1.6 billion NASA contract in December. And literally in the final closing hours of Christmas Eve 2008, Tesla managed to close its desperately needed financing round, with Musk throwing in his very last dime. They survived by mere days.
Section 1. The Empire Multiplier. Okay, so surviving that brutal crucible of 2008, that is exactly what activated this incredible compounding, multi-industry ecosystem. By 2026, this isn't just one lucky bet anymore. He holds a massive 38% stake in SpaceX, which translates to roughly $800 billion. His 13% in Tesla brings in another $300 billion, and a 50% stake in his artificial intelligence company XAI adds another $50 billion. He took that original PayPal momentum and just multiplied it across the board.
This breakdown, right here, illustrates a super fascinating shift in the very foundation of his empire. Because while many people still associate him primarily with electric cars, by 2026, his wealth is no longer just Tesla. It is massively, heavily dominated by SpaceX. But it begs the question, why take on all these different, incredibly difficult industries in the first place?
Well, this gives us a really surprising perspective on what actually drives him, because it's clearly not just about stacking cash. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman made this fascinating observation. He said, Elon desperately wants the world to be saved, but only if he can be the one to save it. The ultimate goals here are making life multiplanetary, solving the sustainable energy crisis, and managing AI. The unprecedented wealth? It's kind of merely a byproduct of attempting to solve humanity's largest problems.
Section 2. The Trillionaire Epoch.
The sheer velocity of his recent net worth growth is staggering. I mean, look at this. In 2020, he was sitting at a massive $170 billion. By 2024, it had nearly doubled to $320 billion. But then, in 2026, it absolutely rockets to $1.11 trillion. That is an unprecedented, vertical climb in wealth generation that has entirely rewritten the financial history books.
The exact catalyst for crossing that historic milestone happened on June 12, 2026. SpaceX went public in the largest initial public offering in history. Pricing at $135 per share, the company raised $86 billion, which valued the entire enterprise near an astonishing $1.77 trillion. And because Musk owns roughly 38% of it, that single monumental event officially minted him as the world's very first trillionaire.
To truly grasp this scale, we have to look back in time for a second. We often think of those old Gilded Age titans as the richest humans ever, right? But even adjusted for inflation, Andrew Carnegie's massive steel fortune peaked at roughly $310 billion in today's money. Musk's $1.11 trillion completely dwarfs it. Simply put, no human being in the entire history of civilization has ever held this much wealth at one time.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. When one single individual holds this much capital, this much extreme risk tolerance, and immense power across space, AI, transportation, and communication, is the ultimate goal of business to generate unprecedented wealth, or is it to literally save the world? It's a question that will undoubtedly define the next century. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I hope this sparked your curiosity to learn even more. Keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.